Welcome to the Oracle Scroll. My name is Kevin Walder and I am your host, and I invite you to join my guests and myself as we discuss all things metaphysical. Welcome back to episode 10 of the Oracle Scroll. In this episode, we're going to take a long look at the Chariot, card number 7 in the Major Arcana of the Tarot. We're also going to just take a nostalgic stroll back through a town that probably doesn't exist any longer at all, but I call it my little town, the place where I grew up. See how it compares to where you grew up. And then in the final segment, we are drawing 3 cards to help Ken find an answer to his business question. So let's begin with the Chariot. In my book, Tarot for Lunch, Lessons from the Cards, I wrote the following about the Chariot. This was a little departure because most of the cards up to this point have been more physically manifested as a character, as a person, and the Chariot as an inanimate object needs a little different treatment. So as we progress through this time of continued change and refining our missions, having the Chariot show up is quite appropriate. Many of us are feeling the pace quicken, and as we plan and execute major changes in our lives. This card is symbolic of movement. Movement and control with precise direction. Full power is being focused on all our goals, but we are being encouraged to maintain balance in the process. Oh, all those are tough things to do. At the risk of dating myself, the movie Ben-Hur has a chariot race scene that is, for me, the quintessential definition of the Chariot card. The raw power of the horses being urged to their full speed and exertion, and the charioteer with the slightest movement of the reins is capable of moving the chariot, maneuvering it anywhere, precisely where he wants it to be. While there is work involved, we have the assistance of powerful forces at our command, and the results will be beyond our comprehension. The Chariot card is telling us to exercise this type of control while moving forward with our lives and ambitions. This card is encouraging and positive as it shows us that we can control many of the things we may have thought uncontrollable. While the Chariot highlights the aspects of control and movement, it also warns us not to over-control to the point of stifling any progress from taking place. As in many martial arts forms, using the energy of an opponent is far more rewarding than exerting your own energy in order to micromanage a situation. The artwork for this card is fairly consistent among most decks, showing the Chariot being pulled by 2 horses, one dark, one light, which speaks to us about the need for balance in everything we do, especially when undertaking life-changing movement. Most of the time, I see this card as addressing a spiritual or emotional movement in our lives, but it can also refer to physical movement, and can be a strong indicator that a move of home, a move of office, is imminent. As we know, a move often connects us to all aspects of our being, so the Chariot is advising us to participate fully in the move by engaging not only the physical, but also the spiritual, mental, and emotional bodies as well. When I see the Chariot come up in a reading, I take it as a sign that movement and progress are underway in the life of the querent. There are forces at work in the life of the individual which may not be fully understood, but are there at their command nonetheless. I also take this card to be a sign that the querent needs to become aware of his or her own power to direct the future and to put that power to good use now. The chariot also tells me that there is considerable energy in the situation itself, and the current needs to be aware of their ability to influence that energy. So, as is usual with each of the cards, there are 3 questions. And this card poses the following: what is the movement that you are directing in your life right now? How are you experiencing the power of consciously directing your life right now? And just a different question to the same point is, are you consciously directing your life right now? And then the final question is, what is your own vision of the movement coming up in your life? So that is my look at the Chariot from my book, Tarot for Lunch, Lessons from the Cards, available now in both paperback and Kindle form on Amazon.com. So as has become our habit here at the Oracle Scroll, we'll take a more in-depth look at the Chariot with something I wrote, and I called it The Chariot, an Owner's Manual. So those of us who've ever had the opportunity to own a brand new car with that new car smell, it's not the same as it used to be, but that new car smell, and you break out the owner's manual and thumb through it to see all the particulars, what's new and different in your vehicle. Well, that's what this is designed to be, is an introduction to the owner's manual of your new ride, the Chariot. So I begin with, congratulations on your purchase and welcome to a unique driving experience. First, let's explore the history and pedigree of your new vehicle. The Chariot was first used as a military vehicle by the ancient Syrians, and then it was perfected by the Egyptians, continued to be a principal weapon of choice for over 2,000 years. That's staying power. Through the reign of 6 world powers from Egypt to Rome, the Chariot played an important role in battle and in commerce. The Chariot was so effective on the battlefield that it could replace up to 25 infantrymen and enabled the military forces to move men and weaponry to any place on the battlefield rapidly and efficiently. The Chariot is associated with the Hebrew letter Cheth, C-H-E-T-H, which means fence, alluding to the quickness and agility of the Chariot, making it just as effective as a defensive weapon as it is as an offensive one. Chariots were designed to carry 1 or 2 men and could be pulled by 1 or 2 horses as necessary. Chariots crossed all levels of socio-economic groups, as lowly messengers on up to the emperor himself might be found driving or riding in a chariot. It's a nameplate that's been around. The Chariot was not the first vehicle built to use the wheel, but it was the first built with speed and agility as its principal design features. There is no comparison between driving an ox cart and driving a chariot. The Chariot was the result of the greatest vehicular evolution of the ancient world. Now, let's explore some of the features of your new Chariot. First, you'll note the fine craftsmanship of the wheels. These are not the roughly hewn planks of wood you find in ox cart wheels. These are finely crafted spoked wheels made of softer woods with a harder wood tire to give the vehicle a more sophisticated ride. The wheel turns freely on its axle thanks to a tried and true bearing lubricated with animal fat to keep things rolling smoothly. Every aspect of your new Chariot is designed to give you a thrilling experience of an agile and lightweight vehicle prepared for the race. The platform of your new Chariot is simple and basic so as not to add to the weight of the vehicle. You will notice that this Chariot has no accommodation for reins, as you will be directing your chariot using only the wand in your right hand. Now it's time to meet the power plant of your new vehicle. Your chariot is powered by 2 horses, one light and one dark. The natural instinct of these animals is to pull against each other, so you will want to have no distractions while driving your new chariot in order to control these powerful animals. These animals are here to deliver power to your journey, and it is entirely up to you to maintain control and balance to prevent a catastrophe. The number 7 figures prominently on the chariot and indicates a time of creativity and movement. Keeping hold of the wand in your hand and realizing that you can do nothing to physically restrain the horses hitched to your chariot, it is entirely up to you to make a conscious decision as to where you want to direct your energies. Where will you direct your chariot emotionally, intellectually, and spiritually? Another card in the Major Arcana with a numerological value of 7 is the Tower, which helps to explain the association with the rune Hagalaz, or Hagal, which means chaos. In order to get peak performance from your new chariot, you will need to give the horses free rein while exercising just enough control to achieve that precise movement that you require of your new vehicle. The astrological attribution of the chariot is Cancer, which speaks of its adaptability and responsiveness. You will not want your new chariot to sit in the driveway because its true beauty can only be appreciated when holding the rail as you fly across the countryside at full speed. The elemental attribution of the chariot is water, alluding to the fact that water is always in motion, whether it's seeking the path of least resistance or responding to the effects of wind or other environmental phenomena. This also brings us to the planetary attribution of the moon. Nothing moves water more effectively than the moon. Enjoy your new chariot, but remember to treat this powerful vehicle with the respect it deserves. Always be conscious of your thoughts and feelings and how you are relating to your spiritual surroundings, as they can have profound effects on the destination and performance of your new vehicle. Remember that seeking to control too rigidly will severely limit the output of your power plant and will reduce your chariot to nothing more than a 2-wheeled ox cart. When operating your chariot, you will want to eliminate any extra weight and distraction from the platform. This vehicle is designed to deliver performance, and anything which might make it cumbersome has been eliminated in the design. You will only get top performance from your new chariot by allowing no distractions to come between you and this beautiful machine. So that is my look at the Chariot. In our second segment of the Oracle Scroll, we take an item of current interest perhaps and try to give it a spiritual twist, a spiritual view. I'm going to an article here that I wrote some time ago, but no, obviously it's still very pertinent to what is happening in our world. In fact, it may be even more so now than it was at the time I wrote it. I called this article My Little Town. Recent events have made me think about my little town, of the town where I grew up, the town in the middle of America's heartland. Some may call it God's country. Though I've been away for 40 years, there are memories I've never been able to shake. My little town was a slice of Americana, nothing unlike Mayberry from the television show. The school system in my little town had one Asian student who went all the way through from kindergarten to graduation. It had one black student who stuck it out for no more than one semester. And there was one Hispanic family who stayed for a number of years. Otherwise, my little town was as culturally, philosophically, and ethnically as diverse as the above mentioned Mayberry. Some may have referred to my little town as quaint, but I never considered the derelict buildings, empty streets, and lack of opportunities to be all that quaint. In order to be quaint, a place must not only be old-fashioned, a page from days gone by, but also it has to have a particular charm, attractiveness, which my little town definitely lacked. This kind of spot was definitely not the place for a kid that was different. A kid who was far more different than most would realize until many years later. A place like my little town is not where standing out is to be encouraged. One must attend the right church, belong to the right clubs, endorse the right candidates, if one is to expect even the slightest respect or even acceptance. My little town became my little prison. My little town would soon begin to claim lives. The complete lack of community resources would drive some of my classmates into the world of dangerous, deadly drugs. Others would make extreme choices that would lead them to take their own lives. The only salvation that could be obtained was to place as much distance between myself and my little town. My little town could at times be very picturesque. There were moments when the old oaks and maples that surrounded the Carnegie Library back gave it an otherworldly appearance. But it was only a single block along a very dreary street. My little town had several stately homes which had survived far more than a century, but these were outnumbered by both churches and taverns. My little town taught me several things about life, such as the need to be very quiet and very secretive about your honest feelings and about your identity. My little town taught me that I was not worthy and that I should never expect the life that I observed on TV because I lacked basic human value. My little town taught me to settle for whatever was available and freely offered, for I should never presume that I could ask for anything which could enhance my existence. My little town taught me that other opinions, other people's feelings, and public perception were far more important than any personal desire, feeling that I might have. My little town taught me how to be a criminal. My little town taught me how to cover my tracks, to destroy evidence, to laugh at the jokes that were about me, and to pretend that I could ever fit in my little town. Though I've been away for decades and my entire world has changed, my little town continues to decay, to waste away with its prejudices, loves, and opinions unchanged for centuries. Those who are different know for certain they are not welcome, and depending on the difference, the pressures may vary. I suspect the townsfolk consider their actions to be neighborly, as they encourage those who are different to seek a place where they will be much more comfortable. When I last visited my little town for a family funeral, I observed firsthand just how pervasive neglect and separation can be. My prevailing thought at the time was, thank God it's a round-trip ticket. My little town continues to shrink, continues to shrivel, and though occasionally someone will devise a plan with some promise to revive, regenerate, and transform my little town, we all know that such an undertaking would never satisfy all those involved. I watch from a distance the comings and goings in my little town, and I know that I never belonged there. Never quite sure how I ended up there. I'm so grateful that I had the encouragement and the foresight to remove myself from those restricting circumstances. There are some people I know who are still being held in my little town, and though I wish everyone could be free, I know that some will never be able to make the decision to remove themselves. Into this dismal existence was born a pudgy little blond boy who wanted to be everyone's friend, but soon learned to be very afraid and withdrawn. The ugly house on the knoll above the river became his refuge, and the stage for the story he wrote for himself. That ugly house became his closet, and he rarely ventured far from it. Without the world he created, this young man would never have survived the torturous task of attempting to belong where he could never fit in. My Little Town. There's a Simon and Garfunkel song by that name, and every time I hear it, I see scenes from my little town, and I thank heaven and earth that my little town is far, far away. In our third and final segment of the Oracle Scroll, we take a question from the audience, and we draw cards from the tarot in an effort to gain some insight and offer some guidance. And today's question comes from Ken. Ken writes, I am about to take a big risk with the possibility of some big rewards. But what I need to know is, will this venture be as successful as I expect? And my response is as follows. Congratulations on your new opportunity. These things are so energizing and inspiring that good things almost certainly must follow. There's just something about that movement of positive energy just gets things going. Having done your research prior to considering a big risk, you no doubt have a pretty clear indication of your role in the success of this venture. So I drew 3 cards for your question, and they are the Empress, the Queen of Coins, and the Lover. The Empress is the ultimate mother in the deck. She is often depicted as pregnant, which alludes to her devotion to her children and her family. She's a very comforting presence and is there to offer her support and comfort when challenges come along. I find her appearance in your reading to be very positive, indicating that there is support available beyond your expectations. The Queen of Coins backs up the Empress and pledges her support as well. The Queen's realm is money, home, and health, and they indicate her concern with the physical well-being of all her subjects. In many ways, the Empress and the Queen of Coins are concerned with the very same aspects of your success. The Lover's card, however, steps in with just a little word of caution. Don't we all appreciate those? All the research and preparation you've already done is not the end of your responsibility. There are still important, life-altering decisions which will need to be addressed going forward. This card is urging you to consider all aspects of this new venture to make sure it addresses your emotional, your mental, and your spiritual well-being while providing for you materially. In summary, the Empress and the Queen of Coins are both eager to begin the venture and promise financial success. It seems you've done all the financial analysis and determined that this is a move that you must make. Then the Lovers step in and ask, have you considered how this venture will impact your emotional, mental, and spiritual health? The lovers wants to see us all making wise choices. And it is simply saying to research all those areas just as thoroughly as you did the financial research. So, Ken, I hope this is helpful to you, and we appreciate your question. Thank you. As we close out this episode of the Oracle Scroll, I would really like to ask for some audience participation. We would like to hear from you exactly how you keep your spiritual balance and how you continue to extend compassion and love in a world that has become so divided and so fragmented and basically inhuman to each other. So this is a question that I've been grappling with, and I would love to see what is your favorite way to engage in something that is actually helpful to the community, to yourself, and to those around you. And I appreciate it. I appreciate getting some information back from each of you. And as usual, we would like to extend our sincere appreciation for listening to our podcast and encourage you to share it with your friends and your neighbors, anyone who might be interested. Pass it along and ask them to subscribe, and we will take everyone along with us for the ride. We hope you're enjoying them as much as we are putting them together. So thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you for episode 11. Bye-bye. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Oracle Scroll. Find us on Facebook at the Oracle Scroll. If you wish to send comments, suggestions, or requests, please address them to theoraclescroll@gmail.com.